The palace halls, with polished marble floors and watchful portraits, echoed silence meant for whispers, not shouts. Guards stood at every turn. Yet on one unforgettable night, that stillness broke, and the quiet grandeur was forever disrupted.
That jumped out at me was she didn't want to have to walk behind Kate Middleton, the future queen. She felt that they should be treated as equals, and yet she joined an organization in which they're not equals.
Well, I think the big shock came to her in a way when she moved into Kensington Palace.
Multiple palace insiders claim Meghan Markle was spotted pursuing Kate Middleton through a secluded corridor in a shocking confrontation that left staff stunned. The clash reportedly followed a strained dinner where rising tensions between the duchesses could no longer be contained. Kate, composed and dignified, excused herself gracefully, walking into the hallway with her head held high. Meghan, unwilling to let matters rest, allegedly stormed after her, heels striking sharply against the marble floors as her voice reverberated through the palace. Witnesses recall her words cutting through the silence. "Don't you dare walk away from me, Kate. Not this time."
Harry has got a 2/3 small cottage in that complex, and literally on the other side of the corridor, Kate and William have a 22-room apartment with 2 kitchens. And so that came as a bit of a shock to Meghan. But I think that was a shock she could overcome because she didn't intend to stay. And that was the other part of the problem, so to speak. But, of course, the 2 women didn't get on.
What no one anticipated was that the palace's discreet security cameras, meant for protection rather than scandal, recorded the entire confrontation in stark detail. According to staff who later viewed the footage, it was the most explosive scene within palace walls since Princess Diana's time. The grainy playback revealed Kate moving quickly, her face pale yet controlled, while Meghan followed just behind, her sharp gestures betraying her anger though her words were muted. Guards, frozen with hesitation, feared the consequences of intervening. Despite efforts to keep the moment concealed, whispers spread, and the private drama refused to remain secret for long.
I'm not surprised, and I don't blame Meghan entirely for that, because Meghan was a self-made woman. She'd come from a tough background. Every penny she had, she earned, and she had got to the top using her wiles and her clever way of working people and things. Whereas Kate just waited patiently for William finally to propose and marry her. Now, Kate is a remarkable woman.
By morning, rumors of the dramatic hallway chase were already buzzing through palace staff chats. Within 2 days, word leaked that CCTV footage existed, igniting a storm. For the palace, it was a serious problem because, for the first time, Meghan wasn't merely accused of conflict. She was undeniably caught on camera.
Just a reminder, every deleted tweet, fake statement, and PR cover-up takes hours to piece together. If you want to help this channel keep going, hit that join button and become a member. We'll keep exposing what they won't.
She is going to be, and is now, a terrific ambassador for the monarchy and for Britain, in a way that Meghan could never be a representative of anybody, because there's only one person she can represent. But they weren't going to get on, especially at the time that Meghan arrived, when Kate already had 2 children, was pregnant with the 3rd. She suffers very bad morning sickness. So she didn't have the time which Meghan...
The palace corridors were never meant for scenes of chaos. Built for silence and dignity, their marble floors echoed only whispers, never shouts. Yet on that night, everything changed. The moment Meghan lunged after Kate, staff froze where they stood. Guards at either end of the hallway exchanged uneasy glances, uncertain whether they should intervene. The rule was clear: never step into disputes between senior royals unless true danger was present. But the optics alone were terrifying. To lay hands on either woman risked igniting a political disaster. Later, a footman speaking off record admitted, "We didn't know if we should stop it or pretend we hadn't seen it." Every choice felt like treason. That dilemma worsened when the chilling realization struck: the cameras. Every wing of the palace was equipped with discreet CCTV, not watched constantly, but reviewed often enough to catch irregularities. And that night, the system worked exactly as designed. Within the hour, the chase was already flagged. A senior aide, summoned to the monitoring room, sat before a flickering screen as grainy black and white footage replayed the moment. Kate moved briskly, pale but composed, her head high. Meghan followed close behind, sharp gestures betraying her fury, her mouth open in words the silent feed could not capture. The aide reportedly muttered under his breath, "If this ever gets out, we're finished." But it was already slipping out. Staff who caught even glimpses of the drama had begun whispering, messages darting through WhatsApp groups. One mate allegedly typed a chilling line, "CCTV caught everything. If Meghan leaks first, it will look like Kate was running away." The fear wasn't paranoia. By morning, Meghan's allies in California were already dropping subtle hints to friendly outlets, painting the encounter as Kate storming off mid-conversation, leaving Meghan only trying to make peace. Inside the palace, panic spread like fire. The footage wasn't just evidence. It was a weapon. At dawn, Charles was briefed. Sitting in his study, his tea untouched, he looked up as his private secretary entered with a slim folder. The king's expression changed the moment he opened it. Inside were stills pulled from the CCTV feed. Kate striding swiftly through the corridor, Meghan only steps behind, her hand raised in mid-gesture, her mouth frozen mid-shout. Charles's face reportedly drained of color. "Good God," he whispered. "They caught it on camera." Within the hour, William was summoned. Already tight-lipped from the whispers he had heard, his composure snapped when the images were placed before him. His voice rose, sharp with anger. "This is harassment. My wife, being chased through her own home. She's turned the palace into a stage." The aide sat frozen as William pressed his fists to the table. "And now there's proof. What do we do when the world sees this?" The room fell heavy with silence. Charles broke it first, his tone clipped and furious. "This footage does not leave these walls. If it leaks, it will not be us. We will act as though it never happened." He believed silence was the only shield, but William bristled, his voice colder still. "Pretend all you like, father. Meghan won't bury this. She'll weaponize it. And Kate will be humiliated unless we get ahead of her first." For the first time in years, the palace was openly divided. Charles demanded silence. William wanted a counterattack. Staff were caught in the middle, unsure whether to obey the king's call for restraint or the prince's call for defense. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in Montecito, Meghan was already moving, according to insiders. Within hours of the confrontation, she placed calls to two of her most trusted allies, a Hollywood PR strategist and a streaming executive. Her message was deliberate and calculated. "If anything surfaces, it must look like Kate avoided me. That she ran. That I only wanted to talk." It was a clever reframing. A spin that cast Meghan as the peacemaker and Kate as the one unwilling to reconcile. And while Charles and William argued over silence versus strategy, Meghan was already shaping the narrative in California. The palace faced its darkest crisis in years, not just because of what happened in those marble corridors, but because proof existed, proof no denial could erase. And though the footage remained locked away, the whispers had escaped, growing louder by the hour. For once, the royal family wasn't battling rumor or speculation. They were battling the truth caught on camera. And that truth, more than anything else, threatened to fracture the monarchy from within. Meghan had always been skilled at shaping perception, but this time, there was a problem. The palace footage showed more than a tense pursuit. It captured her raised hand, her expression, her pace. It looked aggressive. Too aggressive. And Meghan knew it. According to an LA insider, that was why she floated a radical idea: leak only part of the tape. Not the full chase. Just the moment where Kate turned away, striding down the hallway while Meghan appeared to call after her. Without the rest, the optics could be flipped. The plan was clever. Across the Atlantic, whispers began to appear in sympathetic U.S. tabloids. Headlines framed it as tension between duchesses, suggesting Kate had stormed away from a private talk with Meghan. Textbook Meghan, controlling the narrative before the palace even took its first breath. But in London, staff who had seen the full CCTV bristled. To them, it wasn't strategy. It was manipulation. One security officer reportedly muttered, "If she leaks half the truth, we'll leak the whole of it." For the first time in years, it wasn't just the palace against Meghan. It was the palace staff, the guards, the aides, the footmen, furious that their sacred walls had been dragged into battle, and in the middle of it all sat Kate. On the surface, she maintained her usual composure, smiling at staff, attending briefings, moving with the grace of a future queen. But privately, she was shaken in a way few had ever seen. One confidant later revealed that when Kate returned to her chambers after the incident, she locked the door, sat at her dressing table, and wept. Through tears, she reportedly whispered to her aide, "I should not have to run in my own home." That simple, devastating line began to circulate through palace corridors in hushed tones, a quiet acknowledgement of the humiliation she felt. That night, when William entered their private rooms, Kate finally let her composure crack. She told him how it felt to hear Meghan's heels clattering behind her, her voice rising, sharp and insistent, even as she tried to walk away. William's fury was immediate. He clenched his fists, pacing the room before speaking in a low, trembling voice. "She turned you into prey, and now they'll twist it to make it your fault." Kate's reply revealed her deepest fear. "It's not the chase, William. It's the cameras. If the world sees me running from her, what will they think? A future queen cornered, fleeing." For her, the humiliation wasn't in the shouting. It was in the optics. A queen-in-waiting pursued down a marble corridor by a duchess who had walked away from the crown. William swore to protect her. "If they show the tape, we'll show it all. Every frame, every second. The world will know who is chasing who." But the question loomed, would Meghan strike first? Because if even a fragment of the tape was leaked, the narrative could be sealed before Kate had a chance to defend herself. Why then? The incident had split the palace in two. Charles urged silence, insisting any acknowledgement would make the scandal worse. William demanded action, pressing for a counteroffensive before Meghan's team gained ground. And Kate retreated behind her quiet dignity, the very image of composure while privately shaken to her core. But it wasn't the royals who tipped the balance. It was the staff, the witnesses, the guards, the aides, the security officers who had seen what really happened. In break rooms and corridors, whispers grew louder. One guard, furious at the way U.S. outlets painted Kate as the one who stormed off, reportedly told a colleague, "If Meghan shows the clip, we'll leak the rest." People deserve the truth. What began as murmurs became a threat. A circle of senior aides, tired of years of Meghan's spin, began to push back. For the first time, the palace walls didn't simply hide the scandal. They bristled with anger, a silent rebellion forming from within, and all the while, the world waited, not knowing if the next headline would come from London or from California. What began as whispers among frustrated aides soon turned into what one insider later described as a rebellion in miniature. The plan was dangerous, even reckless. If Meghan's camp dared to leak a doctored or partial version of the palace CCTV footage, then staff themselves would anonymously send the entire recording to the British press. One aide reportedly put it bluntly, "She thinks she can weaponize palace walls against us. Let her try. We'll burn the whole tape before we let her own the story." The risks were enormous. Releasing raw security footage from inside the palace would shatter royal protocol, expose the monarchy's inner sanctum, and risk a constitutional scandal. Yet, in those tense days, anger outweighed fear. For once, the staff were unwilling to sit silently while Meghan shaped the narrative unopposed. Whispers of their intent eventually reached William, who didn't discourage them. According to one insider, he simply nodded and remarked, "If she plays games with shadows, let the light in." It was the clearest signal yet that the palace might not endure in silence this time. But in California, Meghan was already moving faster. She was drafting headlines, prepping friendly journalists, and planning to present herself as the wronged Duchess long before a single frame of CCTV could reach the British press. The battle wasn't about the footage itself. It was about who told the story first. The palace had vowed to keep the recording sealed. But then, late one night, a single still frame slipped into the hands of a British tabloid. It wasn't the full tape, or even a moving clip. Just one grainy image, but it was enough to ignite a firestorm. The picture showed Kate striding forward, her face tense but composed, while Meghan followed just steps behind, arm raised mid-gesture, her mouth frozen in what was clearly a shout. The headline was explosive. Caught on camera, Meghan pursues Kate through palace corridor. Within hours, the image spread like wildfire. Commentators dissected every pixel. Was Kate walking or running? Was Meghan pointing, pleading, or shouting? Royal watchers pored over body language, while social media lit up with hashtags like #HallwayChase and #RoyalCCTV. For the palace, it was a partial victory. The leaked frame seemed to paint Kate as dignified and calm, while Meghan appeared as the aggressor. But it also raised a perilous question. If one frame looked this damning, what would the full video reveal? Across the Atlantic, Meghan's fury was volcanic. Sources close to her claimed she accused the palace of orchestrating a smear campaign, raging, "They're turning me into a villain again. If they can leak, so can I." Her team scrambled into crisis mode. Draft statements circulated, portraying Meghan as a woman seeking dialogue while Kate supposedly stormed away. Some advisors even urged Meghan to release a carefully edited portion of the CCTV to reclaim the narrative, though others warned that once video surfaced in any form, the truth could spiral out of control. Meanwhile, in London, William's position hardened. According to one aide, he remarked coldly, "One frame was enough. Imagine what 10 minutes will do." The war for control of the tape was no longer whispered. It was breaking into the open. The leaked still image had cornered Meghan, and she knew it. According to Hollywood insiders, within 48 hours of the tabloid splash, her PR team was sending frantic instructions to sympathetic American outlets. The plan was bold: release a cropped, curated clip that showed just enough to flip the optics. And then it happened. A grainy 12-second video appeared on a U.S. entertainment blog. In it, Kate could be seen turning sharply, striding down the corridor with her back to Meghan. Meghan followed, hand raised as if reaching out, lips moving rapidly. Crucially, the clip ended before her expression hardened, before the chase truly became clear. The headline read, "Kate walks away from Meghan's attempt to reconcile." The spin was immediate. American commentators framed Meghan as the peacemaker, desperately trying to bridge divides, while Kate was painted as cold and dismissive. Meghan's allies flooded social media with hashtags like #NoMeghanTried and #ColdKate, amplifying the narrative, but across the Atlantic, the British press wasn't convinced. Analysts pointed to the inconsistencies between the still frame and the cropped clip, accusing Meghan of weaponizing a partial truth. As one royal correspondent tweeted, "When half the truth is shown, it's not honesty, it's strategy." The war for the tape had begun, and now both sides were fighting in the open. If Meghan's version looks this bad cropped, imagine the full footage. William's fury was no longer contained. According to one aide, he stormed into Charles's study and declared, "She's manipulating state security footage. If we don't answer this, she wins." Charles, however, resisted. To him, releasing palace CCTV was unthinkable. It wasn't just a breach of privacy. It would break centuries of protocol. The monarchy had survived scandal after scandal by holding the line of silence. But William wasn't speaking of silence anymore. He wanted action, and quietly, behind the king's back, his aides began preparing something even more explosive: the unedited footage. The atmosphere inside the palace grew taut with unease. Charles clung to his belief in discretion, but William's circle had reached their breaking point. They had watched the U.S. spin twist reality, watched Meghan's edited clip frame her as the wounded party and Kate as the cold one. To them, it wasn't merely a lie, it was a direct attack on the dignity of the future queen. One aide, furious, reportedly slammed his fist on the table and growled, "If she plays games with half the truth, then we give the world the whole truth." In secret meetings, William's staff discussed ways to bypass royal protocol. The full footage sat in the palace's security archive, raw, soundless, and uncut. If released, it would show not reconciliation, but pursuit. Meghan's gestures sharp, her movements urgent, her body language undeniably aggressive, while Kate walked faster and faster, her face pale but composed. The plan was dangerous. Leaking internal CCTV would set a precedent that terrified senior courtiers, undermining the palace's fortress of secrecy. But William's aides believed the stakes were higher. It was not just Kate's honor at risk, it was the monarchy's credibility. One advisor put it bluntly, "Meghan wants a PR war? Fine. But we hold the nuclear option." Whispers soon spread that William himself had quietly given the green light. Not officially, not in writing, but with one cold sentence to his aides: "Do what you must." Meanwhile, Kate remained silent, unaware that decisions about her humiliation and Meghan's fate were being made not by Charles, but by William's inner circle, ready to act. The question loomed heavy. If the full tape surfaced, would it destroy Meghan, or drag the monarchy down with her? The decision came in the dead of night. A plain USB drive, slipped into the hands of a trusted journalist, carried nearly 2 minutes of unedited palace CCTV. No cuts, no narration. Just raw, grainy truth. When it dropped online, the internet exploded. The video revealed everything. Kate striding quickly down the corridor, her head high though her face was pale. Meghan just behind, her arm raised, her gestures sharp, her lips forming words that, even without audio, looked furious. Guards stood frozen on either end of the hallway, caught between duty and disbelief. The chase ended as Kate vanished through a side door, Meghan only steps behind. Before the footage cut to black, headlines were merciless. Chased. Meghan pursues Kate through palace hallway. Future queen fled. Meghan in pursuit. Full CCTV released. Across the Atlantic, Meghan's carefully crafted narrative collapsed overnight. American outlets tried to soften it, framing the footage as a tense exchange or a heated conversation. But the visual was undeniable. On social media, the hashtags shifted brutally. Hashtag Chasing Kate trended worldwide, drowning out Meghan's defenders. Inside the palace, Charles was livid. The leak represented one of the greatest breaches of royal protocol in living memory, a shattering of the secrecy that guarded the crown. But William stood firm. According to one insider, his only words were, "The truth was uglier than silence." For Kate, the relief was bittersweet. The world had seen her composure, her dignity intact under pressure, but also her vulnerability. A future queen, fleeing her own sister-in-law beneath the vaulted ceilings of the palace. For Meghan, the fallout was devastating. Hollywood allies fell silent. Calls stopped coming. Even those who once defended her admitted privately, the tape spoke louder than her words ever could, and so, the image that endures is not of smiling duchesses side by side, but of a grainy black and white chase through marble corridors, Kate striding fast, Meghan in pursuit, and a monarchy forever caught on tape.